Hi guys, you are live with Ali and Reese for We Are the Girls in Claret and Blue. I've called it the Halloween special for no other reason other than the fact that it was Halloween and we've been writing out the full day. So we are going to be talking about the game on Sunday, which we played against Chelsea, the upcoming game against Reading for the Conti Cup, and all sorts of things in between. So I know Reese has got a lot of feelings about the Chelsea performance on Sunday, so I'm going to let him start, and hopefully I'll be able to get a word in edgeways.
Yeah, on this Chelsea game, I have a real mixture of feelings, a bit like I did with the Tottenham Conti Cup game. I felt like for 60 minutes against Chelsea, we matched them, we defended well, we stopped their midfield playing quite elegantly for 60 minutes of the match, and I felt like Thomas was really giving Bright, a really tough afternoon. We did what me and you wanted them to do, which was actually go through the wings and cross a lot of balls into their box. But the thing that frustrated me was the most, I think the small margins in that game cost us. I was saying to Vinny, who watches us regularly every week, and I met for the first time at Rush Green on Sunday while the game was going on, that from corners, if we defended that and it was going out, it was going straight out to a blue shirt, and they'd have back possessions. Then we'd have to defend for another 5 minutes until they gave the ball away to us. And then because we didn't have anyone on that edge of the box, we were then vulnerable to the counter attack.
Mm-hmm.
So I think me saying this as well is I think the difference actually was they had a world class player off their bench to bring on fresh on the 60th minute, and we didn't.
Yeah, that seems to be an ongoing problem we've got at the moment, which is we're back to it being two subs and a goalkeeper. We've got a lot, not to blame injuries, but we do have a lot of them at the moment. Leanne's not 100% fit. Julia, hopefully she's going to come back by Christmas, but we don't know. Esme is just training back with the team again. So all these little players that we could have done with, we're missing. So you're right, we didn't really have options. But then again, you look at our substitute, Leon came on, and within the first 5 seconds, she scored the opening goal, which you can't deny. But you're right, we let little things cost us. Our possession again was sloppy. We weren't breaking down Chelsea as much as I would have liked. And our biggest mistake was taking Brooke off, if I'm honest.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like that completely changed the game. I feel like it was also the wrong substitution at the wrong time. I thought Hendricks was actually our best player on Sunday by a long shot, actually. And obviously, Lehmann's, I don't know if you've seen on Twitter, got a bit of criticism online.
Yes, we do.
With Lehmann, I felt like she actually had a good game on Sunday. I felt the work ethic was back. But I think with Lehmann, I think you can now sort of tell this injury is starting to affect her game. She's not putting the committed challenges in as much as she was last season, but I think you also have to give her time because there is that mental block right now because of that injury. And it was an ACL, wasn't it, Ali?
Yeah, it was a bad injury.
Yeah, it was a bad injury, so we have to give her time. But I feel as well, Leon, she should have started.
Yeah, I don't know why she didn't.
As soon as she came on, the fire was in the belly for us again. And because for the first 60 minutes, I felt like if we didn't give Thomas the ball, West Ham didn't attack. But as soon as Leon came on, it gave Thomas and Leon both that freedom, and Chelsea wasn't sure which one, to mark. If you left Thomas, Leon would be there, and that's how that first goal actually happened.
Absolutely.
So I think with us now, it's more of a thing of building a 90 minutes performance in us, and not just a 60 or a 30-minute period where we play well.
Absolutely, that's the thing, because the joy of being a West Ham fan, but that is the most frustrating part, is I know we've got it in us. That first game against Arsenal, I know we lost, but we were fantastic. We were shutting them down. We were, considering we'd lost to them like 4 goals previous season, to only lose by 2 was such an improvement. And with Chelsea, that first 60 minutes, I believe that we could do it. I believe that we could actually, especially in the form that Chelsea are in. But wrong tactics, I think, Mr. Beard taking off the wrong player at the wrong time, and it meant the defence went to pot because did he swap? Who did he swap for Leon? Was it Hendricks or was it Alicia? Because I feel like he didn't swap.
It was Alicia, and then Longhurst came on for Hendricks and went left back.
That's it. He didn't swap out a defender for a defender. So I love Kate. We all know that we all love Kate, but she's a midfielder and she's an attacking midfielder at that. Putting her on the wing and in that position, I don't think was the right thing. I was like, it's almost Philip Neville level of incorrect positioning.
It's creeping into women's football, this Phil Neville thing now, isn't it, Ali? We're going to have to have a word, I think.
And so, and that's where we went. Once you took away that Flaherty-Hendricks partnership, we went to pot.
I feel like as well, there was a big difference in the midfield. Once that got tired, I felt like Longhurst should have been brought on to add a bit of energy in the midfield and put them ruthless tackles in, not at fullback, because you could also kind of see where Kate is so used to being in midfield. Through when she was in fullback, she was actually creeping into midfield and leaving that space open, which you can't blame Kate for doing because she's a central midfielder. She's not a fullback. So I feel like as well, the defence is getting blamed a lot, but I actually think the problem lays in midfield right now, because for the first Chelsea and the second Chelsea goal, our players shouldn't be letting I can't remember the goal that scored. Sorry, the Chelsea player that scored the first goal.
That's a one. I know. Was it G got the second one?
Yeah. So the first
an absolute worldie, like.
But for me, I feel like with both them shots, our midfielders should be out there blocking them, and they shouldn't have so much time to have that shots. And against these sort of players, if they fire, it's 9 times out of 10 going to go in. But I feel like as well, there's one player that really does deserve praise from Sunday, who obviously is my favourite player, Brosnan. I feel like she was absolutely superb.
Knew that was coming.
Yeah, she was so superb though. I felt like if it actually wasn't for Brosnan, Chelsea could have scored a lot earlier, and then it would have been a completely different game.
No, absolutely. And as much as I rib Reece, Courtney was absolutely outstanding on Sunday, and the scoreline doesn't do well to reflect that. One thing that has come up, if you look at the Twitter conversation about the game, was that the referees' decisions were not fantastic. For example, when we'd gone 2-1 down towards the end of the game, we had a foul, and he gave the free kick instead of letting advantage play, whereas we could have gone 2-2 then. Instead, the free kick amounted to absolutely nothing. Chelsea picked up on the counter and ended up being 3-1. I don't want to bash referees. I know they get a lot of stick, but do you think that the referees' decision-making caused some issues, or was it that was going to happen anyway?
I feel like blaming the referees a scapegoat after a loss. If we would have won, we wouldn't be blaming him. And I actually thought the referee had quite a good game. I feel like he was consistent with his decisions. He didn't try and get too involved like some referees do, and he managed the game well. But the problem lies with these referees. Do you remember when I told you I noticed last season quite a few referees that reffed at non-league level?
Yes.
Well, he was my former club that I worked for was Billericay, and he was refereeing a Billericay game last year. So I'm sure he's still at that level. So why are semi-professional refs in the professional game in women's football? It really frustrates me now, because I felt like at the start of the season they were starting to up the level of referees' appointments in women's football. But now, after they've kind of had the momentum after the start of the season, it's now gone back down to the semi-pro level of referees.
And that's the biggest problem, because the simple answer is money. Is from what I've been told, is that they can get more money reffing in a few leagues down in the men's game than they can reffing at top level on the women's game. So that's where the level of refereeing we're getting is people that are willing to turn up for, very little comparatively. I think it was against, I want to say it was the Birmingham game. I can't remember the thing, but you could hear when the refs were warming up, one of them turned around and said, "I like reffing at West Ham. They pay the most." And the other one said, "Yeah, it's the easiest 45 quid you're going to make." Now, if you're only paying your ref 45 quid, are you going to get the best level of reffing? And it is, because you would never get that sort of level of reffing even in the men's conference, never mind the Premier League.
I actually think, yeah, that's a really low payment for referees. But surely there should be some sort of FA commitment here. They're starting to fund women's football, but so why not help these teams? Give them a sum maybe at the start of the season to pay the referees, so we get high quality referees with high quality players, which normally produces a high quality game of football, surely.
Exactly. The refereeing standard is well documented for being quite poor at our level of football, but it's something that definitely needs to be looked at. But back to our performance against Chelsea. You said it yourself. We were 60 minutes, we were in there, we were giving them a hard time, and then it went downhill. What do we need to do when we come up against these top clubs? Because we've got Man City next in the league, and I know they're on a bit of a downturn at the moment, having lost 3 on the bounce, but they're going to be hard pressed to want that win.
Well, against the top teams, you look at the Arsenal performance, that is the exact performance we need to produce against the top teams. Because, and not only against the top teams, against every team, week in, week out, because that's our problem right now, consistency. That's what's stopping us between becoming a top half side for me. And like I said, I just feel like for the 30 minutes, there was no energy in that midfield, and I felt like that cost us the game of football. And I feel like Vinny on Sunday as well, he made up a really good point, and he actually before the game made me aware of this, that there is a problem in the midfield. So I started to watch the midfield a bit more closely, and now I get Vinny's point. For 60 minutes, there's so much energy in our midfield. The tackles are going in, we're passing the ball well, and then for 30 minutes it stops, and we go 3-1 down. So, yeah, for me, that's the only thing we need to improve is, the full commitment of a performance in 90 minutes, because against the top teams, that's simply what you have to do to beat them.
So who would you swap out? Because in the midfield, after the 60 minutes of greatness and then we're lagging, who would you swap out?
I think if we won a lot like we was in the Chelsea game, you have to put Longhurst in there.
So instead of you putting in, but who are you taking out? I'd
probably take Cho out after the 60 minutes, just to put their similar type of midfielders, and then obviously there's the energy's back in midfield, and also you've got flying tackles coming in, which could put the opposition off. So yeah, that's what I feel like. That would have been the substitution I would have made on Sunday.
See, I actually, for once, Reese, agree with you. I would have taken Cho off. I think.
I feel like I need a party popper now. We've agreed on
something. You need something. Yeah, Cho for 60 minutes was getting in there and was actually but then she sort of like drifted back, and it just, sloppy passing and things like that. I was really impressed with Midag. I thought Midag, she had a couple of ropey games in the beginning, but she's really cemented herself in our midfield, and she was getting in there with challenges. She was almost like a fourth defender at one point, and I think if you can get a solid partnership between her and Longhurst, then our midfield is going to be stable.
With Midag, I think it's also important to note, she is a top class professional. On the pitch, she leads that midfield. She organises it well, and she does set off attacks with great long balls out to the wings, which actually Middag, we're starting most of our attacks on Sunday. But also off the pitch, after the game, she goes and thanks the fans. She's always there for autographs. So there's that professionalism. She's a good leader, and she's also a good role model for the young players that are now training with that squad coming through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're going to finish this one off. Who would have been your player of the match?
Hendricks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Brooke was overlooked.
That's the second thing we agree on. Are you feeling all right?
No, it's absolutely amazing. If you'd said Courtney, then we would not have agreed. No, and Brooke, I think, was overlooked massively this game in like all the plaudits and stuff like that. But she was an absolute workhorse. Got in some very last-ditch tackles that were needed, and I'm hoping that he starts her in the Reading game this Sunday.
Ali, this is something I feel like we need to discuss tonight because it's been really highlighted on Twitter. What do you make of Lehmann's performances? Because she's come off some harsh criticism for me on Twitter this week.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some things. I don't think she's as bad as people are making out. I think it's typical West Ham fans in the fact that we love them when they're great, and if they're slightly on a downturn, then we want them out. You just have to look in the men's team with the chance of Pellegrini out after a couple of slump games. It's like, come on, he's a world-class manager. Just shush. I do think she needs to get her mojo back. I think that's what's lacking at the moment. I don't know if it's the injury. I don't know if it's she's just not connecting with something. I haven't quite, I'm not inside her head. I don't know. I do think flashes of brilliance. You look at the goal against Brighton, first half, we were giving her a bit of stick, saying she should come off, she should be replaced, and then came on with that brilliant goal. I think she just needs to get her confidence back, and I think that is not helping in her performances. I think it's a vicious cycle. I think the vicious cycle is that she's lacking confidence because of her injury. She's making mistakes, therefore not giving her best performance, which is bringing her confidence down, and is then a vicious cycle. I do think she still needs to stay in the squad. However, I wouldn't start her maybe. I'd maybe have Leon instead, and then you bring her on as an impact sub. And then once she's got a couple of good performances under her belt, then you bring her back as a starter.
What I also feel like as well is now where we've got other confident attackers in the team that are now used to the league, I feel like where she isn't the main producer right now. It's more Leon. I feel like fans are overreacting with that, and they're blaming her performances, which I think haven't been that bad this season.
No.
And also, I don't think she gets as much of the ball with this team now because there is the other players that can produce, like Leon and Thomas.
Absolutely.
And also, she's playing with a new partnership as well up front. So these things are all adding up. But we all know once Alicia does get used to that attack and does get over that injury properly, she's going to be, our attack's probably going to be within the top 5 of the league, I'd say.
Well, that's it. I think that's the problem, is that she's used to being the one that's being fed to. Like last season, I know we had Jane Ross up front, but Alicia was our main girl. And I think that's what it is. I think she's used to being the solo one up front, and she's the one that's being fed to. We've now got Martha. We've got a couple of other players that can do that. And so maybe she's just lost her place. She needs to be, once she works out where she slots back in, I think we're going to see Alicia of old. But I do think maybe take her out of the start, bring her as an impact sub, get a couple of great performances under her belt, and then we'll see Alicia back of old.
The thing is with dropping Alicia, couldn't that even knock her confidence even more?
I don't know, because I think if you keep playing her for so long and she's putting in average performances, I think that's going to do worse. Whereas if you drop her to the bench, not drop her completely, get her on as an impact sub, have her play brilliantly for 30 minutes, then she'll suddenly see what she can do again and where she fits into that setup.
Yeah, I get your point now. It's almost like earning the place back in the team, and then once she does that, that gives her that lease of confidence to then perform throughout a whole 90 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's that she's earned her place rather than Beardy's just giving her the place.
Mm.
All right, I think we've said enough about Chelsea, considering that was 20 minutes.
Told you it was going to be a long show, Ali.
It is going to be a long show. So the game on Sunday is our game against Reading on the in the Conti Cup. I haven't done the maths, to be honest, but do we still have a shot?
Yes. Hold on, I've got a program here. I'll check.
Yeah. I'll let you do the maths. So Reading are a team of two halves this season at the moment. You know, they pulled out some big performances at the beginning of this season, and then they've sort of dropped off a little bit and lost to Man United on Sunday. Here we go. He's doing his maths now.
Yeah, we still do have a shot.
We still have a shot, right? But if I'm right in saying we've got to beat Reading today, otherwise, game over.
Well, we ain't playing Reading today, Ali, so it's a bit hard
You
to do
know what I meant. We have to beat Reading this week, otherwise it's game over.
I feel like as much as Reading's a must-win game in terms of where we are in the group, it's also a must-win game to get these players' confidence is back, and it's also a chance for some of the players that maybe haven't been starting to maybe place a claim to get themselves into the team. There's now, with the Chelsea performance, maybe some shirts up for grabs. But it'll be interesting with the lineup as well to see, who does he go for in terms of the midfield? Does he change that up, or does he go with the same thing again up front? In the last Conti Cup game, he benched Leon. Sorry, benched Thomas and started Leon. But one thing I'd actually like to see is maybe testing out a 4-4-2 with Leon and Thomas up front.
Yes, I think that would be a great pairing, and I think that would also maybe help Alicia's confidence, because if she's got that backup partner in Martha, then that might be able to give her a bit of a boost. The biggest problem I think we're going to face with Reading is our horrendous ability at defending set pieces. And Reading has sort of made it this season, especially with Farrah Williams, that they are really good at their set pieces. You know, Farrah scored a hat-trick, I think it was in their last Conti Cup game, just all from set pieces, and we need to work on defending those. And for that reason, I would make sure that Brooke was starting in the back. Her and Gilly have a great partnership, and I think that works really well. So definitely have Brooke. I have a feeling that he's going to swap goalkeepers again, and that Anna's going to come in and Courtney's going to get benched. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a reflection of Courtney's performance. I think that it's to give Anna more playing time, and also I think it's to give Courtney a rest before the Man City game on the 17th.
I think that Man City game will play a part in his lineup as well.
Yeah.
Trying to rest some main players, so just to make sure they don't get injured before a big game away to Man City. But with this Reading game, I feel like you said, we do really need to defend set pieces well, but we also need to get out quick and stop Farrah Williams from shooting, because she has got one hell of a shot on her. So it's a different test than one we haven't came up against this season, I don't think. No, we haven't.
Yes, we've not had a couple of teams have been all right at set pieces, but this is Reading's trademark, especially with players like Jade Moore, Jo Potter, and Farrah, Natasha Harding. You know, they've got some really strong quality, either ex-international or current international players. They also need to watch out for Remy Allen, because she's a bit of a bruiser. I think it's going to be interesting to see her and Kate go up against each other in the midfield, because both of them are they're tough on the ball, and they will knock you off the ball skillfully. Like, I'm not saying thuggishly, but it's going to be interesting to see how they go up. Our last win against Reading, I would say, was a bit of a fluke. As much as it was a great game for the semi-final, we did benefit from some bad refereeing decisions. Yeah. And also the fact that Farah was not on her game, because Farah got a penalty. For those who don't remember, Farah got a penalty in the second half. Was it second half?
Yeah, I think Farah hit the post, didn't
she? So yeah. So sorry, I've talked a lot. So carry on, Reese.
I forgot what I was going to say now.
It was about the Remy Allen and Kate Longhurst.
Oh yeah, I remember last year. I think Remy Allen and Kate went into a tackle, and I think they both nearly broke each other's leg. And Kate was down for a really long time.
Yes, it was that one, and we thought that she was going to be out for the final because that was quite a nasty knock.
Yeah.
But
well, go on, Ali.
If we play players in the right position, then I think we've got a great chance. And I mean that like not in a sarcastic way. I mean, if you're going to play Kate, play her as an actual midfielder, play her alongside Midag and Darley, and in the right position. Don't put her because as you said, she keeps coming out because her natural instinct is to be a midfielder and be in that thing. Having her as a left back is not what you want to do. Please don't do. He's doing a reverse Phil Neville because Phil Neville puts a great back player in midfield, and Beardy's putting in a midfielder into a back position. Please don't do that.
I feel like this is going to go into a Phil Neville rant with you sometimes, Ali.
I'm stopping. I'm not. I am going to talk about international duty in a minute, but I'm not going to mention the England squad. So, would you say Farah is our biggest threat in going forward with Reading, or are there some other players that we should be watching out for?
Yeah, I think Farah is our main threat. I feel like, as well, Natasha Harding. I feel like she's a really underrated player. She's fantastic. So we need to be careful of her. Jade Moore as well, solid midfielder. It's going to be a challenge to get past her at times. But Farah Williams, like I said, if we give her the time from long range, like we did G and Kirby, we are going to be in massive trouble.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The other thing is, I don't know if Joe Potter's back, because last time we played them, Claire Rafferty broke her face.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they went for a tackle. Joe went to the floor, and it wasn't intentional. You know, as Raf made it very clear, it was not intentional. But she did end up breaking Joe's orbital bone, and she was out for the rest of the season. So I'm not saying that we resort to that. So who would be your ultimate lineup then to go in? Because we've got to get that win against Reading. I know you're a big Courtney super fan and you want her to play.
I'd pick Morgan for this game.
Okay, so you'd have Anna at the back.
Then Hendricks at fullback, Vetterlane and Flaherty, and the Norwegian.
Yeah, we can never say the name. Is it
Kavami? That's it.
Kavami. There we go.
And then in midfield, I'd go with Longhurst, Darley, and Midag. And then up top, I'd go with Leon Thomas and Jacinta.
Ooh, interesting shout. I have to say, we didn't really talk about her in the run-up to the about the Chelsea game, but Jacinta really impressed me against Chelsea. She's very quick. She's not easily nudged off the ball. She's got a lot of pace, a lot of nous about, and I think she's going to be. She already is becoming a fantastic addition to our squad.
A positional place also, very good because I remember there was an attack from Chelsea and Lehman actually wasn't in her position. So Jacinta literally sprinted as fast as she can over to the other wing, let Lehman recover, but also held up the ball well. So her positional play is very good, and also she isn't scared of a tackle, and she likes a battle, but she's also very skillful. And I feel like it's also important to mention before that substitution, when Jacinta got tired, we was a different team.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that she's going to be key to our winning against Reading, because they are, like I said, they're having a season of two halves. They had a great run of games in the first half, but then they've sort of died down a bit, and they did lose to Man United, as I said last weekend, 2-0, which again was through to some sloppy play. I know a lot of Man United fans were complaining, saying that they'd resorted to bully tactics to try and stop them with some dodgy fouls. I personally didn't see anything wrong with the fouls. Yeah, they were hard, but they weren't illegal and they weren't card worthy. But that's just my opinion.
Another thing with this Reading game, every game throughout last season, it was a battle and it was a really good game of football. So it will be a really interesting game to watch and an excitable one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the great thing is, if I remember right, this game is at the Majeski rather than in the middle of High Wycombe. So that's going to hopefully mean that we're going to get... I hate that ground. I hate that. That was harder to get to than Yeovil. And Yeovil was a nightmare to get to.
See, I'd prefer that ground for this game because it means less travel for me. So,
well, High Wycombe or Reading?
High Wycombe. I'd rather the game be at High Wycombe because it's less travel.
How? Never mind. I was like, Reading's nearer to London. I don't understand. It's more travel for me. But anyway. But no, yeah. So the Majeski's definitely, it's going to be a huge... hopefully we'll get a huge crowd, because I believe it's either the end of half term or it's thing. So there's going to be, I think it's going to be a good, solid crowd. We won comfortably last time.
It's the end of half term in terms of like Essex schools, but I think all of us went, sorry, not all of us, all the school kids went back this week.
I don't have kids. Like, all I know, it's half term up here and my bus route was clearer. I don't care, is the honest answer. But yeah, so the good thing is this one's not on FA Player, is it? They're not doing the Conti Cups.
No, that's another thing. That's really poor because they've got a whole tab on their on the app, and then I think the last time they updated it was the FA Conti Cup final last year. But hopefully they start to add some live games. Maybe at the knockout stages, I think they'll do that. Yeah,
knockout stages, I think we will be lucky with that one. So we're going to do a quick international update in the fact that Martha Thomas has broken a couple of nations' hearts and has pledged her allegiance to Scotland and has managed to get a call up for their game in the international break, which is on the 10th. So that's going to be really good. I hope she's going to be playing with some solid players. To be honest, if she'd pledged allegiance to England, I don't think she would have got a look in. But with Scotland, she's got some quality players in people like Jen Beattie, Kim Little, Erin Cuthbert, Jane Ross. There is some solid talent in the Scottish squad. So I think that she's going to thrive there. And I'm sure Scottish Hammers will be very happy that she's pledged her allegiance with Scotland. We've also got some internationals with Alicia's going back with Switzerland and Leon is going back to Canada for their international break on the 10th. I am hoping they do not get injured because, as I've mentioned before, we do have Man City on the 17th. And with Ellen White seeming to come back last couple of games, we need all the help we can get.
These players always come back for the big teams against us. I feel like even in the men's game it happens. It really does wind me up.
I know last season when Kim Little broke her leg, her first game back was against us. I was like, great.
Another thing though, with Lehmann going on to international duty, if she has a really two solid performances for Switzerland, that could really give us some positive momentum with Alicia going into the Man City game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I said, I think that's going to be the key thing for Alicia is her getting that momentum. Once she's got that psychological block out, she's going to be the great player that we know she can be. And
I'm sure if when we read the Scottish lineup, if Thomas is in there over Jane Ross, me and you will both be celebrating that one.
Oh yes. Very much. So that's the international update. And then one final thing is we're going to do our player profile. And this week we have decided on the Korean... I'm sorry. I'm being told off by my Man City friend Pete for forgetting Caroline Weir again. There is also We're in the Scottish squad, which is another quality player for Thomas to play with. Are we happy now, Pete? So our player is the South Korean captain, Cho. I know we gave her a bit of a slating in the early thing, but she has been a quality player for us. She scored that joyful penalty in the FA Cup semi-final, and she has been solid for us.
Mm-hmm. Well, Cho joined in January last season, and she really did change up our midfield, put a bit more security there last year, and she took that momentum, got used to the English game a bit like Leon, and she's kind of like right start last year now, where you don't notice her as much because she does everything with such grace and so simple, but she's such an important player in the midfield.
Yeah, no, absolutely. She has been fantastic for us. And speaking of the Reading, she was the one that gave Alicia the assists when we played them in the Majeski last season. She's definitely an influential player for us in the middle, and I think that's going to continue. She can only grow in our midfield because we've got some solid midfielders there. So I think she will be a I can't speak. Very. I wanted to be clever and say a big word. I can't remember what the big word is. A very big cog in our midfield, and may long she stay a hammer. I think that's all we've got time for this week. We won't have a show next week because it's the international break on the 10th. Or do you want to do one next week? Or we might come back next week to do the Reading game and not have one.
Yeah, I feel like that would be the plan, and then maybe have the following Wednesday off.
Yes, so you will see our beautiful faces next week, where we will decide dissect the Reading game and look forward to
the England-Germany game as well.
And to the England-Germany game, which I will be attending. I'm very excited.
For a Phil Neville rant as well, which will be very interesting to watch Ali fire off again.
Yeah. I just don't think he knows what he's doing, but that's beyond the point.
Well, you know my opinion on Phil Neville.
So, yep, we'll be back to discuss all of that and many more on We Are the Girls in Claret and Blue. I've been Ali.
I've been Reese.
And good night.
Good night.